Hey everybody, it's your favorite gal pal, Scarlett Syanide, and welcome back to another episode of Scarlett Cyanide's School for Sexy People. That's right, you heard it. If you are watching or listening to this video, congratulations, you have been accepted to the School for Sexy People. And that's a school where we teach needy, sexy people life skills. If you're brand new to class today, feel free to, after this video, check out some of my other School for Sexy People videos. Today, I am bringing you back to cooking class. Now, speaking of going back, the thing that we are making today might surprise you. We are going to be doing the very, American household classic, meatloaf. Now, hold on, don't leave. Stay, I promise. You might be thinking to yourself, Scarlett, why would I want you to teach me how to make meatloaf? That sounds nasty. I promise y'all. This is a little bit more of a modern take on meatloaf. Plus, it's really good. I think once y'all see what's coming into this recipe, you're going to be like, oh, okay, this isn't too bad. Also, what's great about meatloaf is that it's pretty easy to make. You kind of get it all mixed together and you get it going in the oven, and it feeds a ton of people. So this is a great recipe if you need to feed a lot of people, or if you're just meal prepping for the week and y'all should not sleep on meatloaf sandwiches. Ooh, the things that you can do with the leftovers. Believe me, this recipe is worth trying. So with all that being said, let's see what's going to go in today in making Scarlett's famous meatloaf. So to make a really, really tasty meatloaf that you won't be embarrassed to say that you made meatloaf about, you are going to need to season and spice this up. So we're going to be using a lot of tasty spices and seasonings today, as well as some onions, fresh eggs, milk, and honestly, to make a good meatloaf, it's a little bit of a kitchen sink type of situation. So I've added extra stuff like Worcestershire sauce and garlic powder, Italian herb seasoning. So let's go through the ingredient list. We're going to start out in a few minutes here just sauteing up this minced onion. So this is a medium chopped up yellow onion. I'm going to be sauteing it in a little bit of olive oil. I have a little spice blend going here of a teaspoon or so of salt, a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, a teaspoon of ground black pepper, and then a couple of dashes of garlic powder. Here I have about 4 cloves of minced garlic and 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. We're going to be adding 2 eggs to the mixture. I don't have it out yet, but we will be adding a 1/3 cup of milk. So we got our little 1/3 cup. And here I have 2 tablespoons of ketchup and 3/4 cup Panko breadcrumbs. Now, I like to have extra seasoning, so I went ahead and got the Italian style Panko breadcrumbs. And then you will need, now this is a little bit more than we need, so I'm actually going to be using some of this for a different recipe, but you will need 2 pounds of lean ground beef. Now, this is a little bit leaner than a lot of recipes tell you to make. I got the 90-10 blend, but you can use the 85-15 or the 80-20 blend as well. Now, we are going to make a sauce for the top of our meatloaf after it's been baking for a while, and I'm going to keep it a little interesting, and we're actually going to do a blend of ketchup and some Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. The very first step is we're going to get these onions sauteing in a little bit of olive oil. As we are getting our olive oil heated up, I'm going to just do a little drizzle there of olive oil. I'm going to start heating it up at about a medium heat. And we want to wait until we start seeing the olive oil shimmer. I also want to talk about how we're going to cook the meatloaf. So a lot of people suggest not using the loaf pan and instead using it like free forming the loaf on a baking sheet. Now, actually, I've done that in the past and it does work out really well. I'm not doing that today because honestly, I forgot to grab parchment paper or aluminum foil or anything like that. So that's a bummer. So I did actually have a disposable, like kind of one-time use loaf pan. So we are actually going to use a loaf pan today. Some like old school, like I said, cue up that time machine. So we will be forming our meatloaf in this. Now, if you're going to use a loaf pan, which does allow for like easy cleanup, I still suggest that you use a baking sheet underneath just because this is like it's like flimsy-ish and it's going to be heavy when we put everything in there. So definitely still use a baking sheet. I am going to preheat the oven to 375. Normally a meatloaf bakes around 350, but because we're using the loaf pan, we actually need to turn up the oven a little bit. So we're going to preheat to 375. Go ahead and add the onion. And we are going to saute these for 5 to 8 minutes until they start getting translucent. I am also going to add a little bit of salt. I do suggest getting a good even chop on your onions. Y'all, I did not get a good chop on mine because honestly, this onion was making my eyes water so bad when I was chopping it. So the onions are just going to be whatever they're going to be today. And since we're sauteing them, it's going to soften them up anyway. I'm not worried about it. All right, so we sauteed our onions. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this burner off and remove these from the heat. We do want them to cool a little bit before we add them to the meatloaf mixture. So I'm actually gonna add these last into the mixture. All right, divas. So as you can see, I went ahead and added my 2 pounds of 90-10 blend ground beef. Now I'm gonna add everything else. The good thing about meatloaf is, like I said, you're making a lot of food and it's really delicious, but you really don't have to get too many things dirty because you're all just gonna toss it in one big bowl and then we'll bake it all together. So in this bowl, I have my 2 pounds of ground beef, my 3/4 cup of Panko breadcrumbs, and 2 teaspoons of ketchup. I'm going to go ahead and add all of my other stuff. This is my salt, garlic, Italian seasoning, and pepper. A 1/3 cup of milk. 4 cloves of garlic and 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire. 2 large eggs. Woo! Woo! And y'all, this recipe is worth using eggs on. I know here in the States, eggs are so expensive right now. I think I paid like $7 for a carton of eggs. So I promise this is worth your 2 eggs. So this part can get a little messy, can get a little crazy. I will tell you, divas, the best way to mix a meatloaf is with your hands. That's a little stressful for me. I don't really like the thought of putting my hands into the raw meat. I also don't have any gloves right now. Normally I keep gloves around for cooking. Y'all, I need a restock for sure. But today we're going to cheat it a little bit. I'm going to use a combination of a meat like serving fork and tongs to mix it. Now, good thing is you don't want to over mix a meatloaf mixture. You just kind of want it to be all mixed. So I think we're going to be okay with just kind of mixing it with a fork and some tongs. Okay, we have this pretty well mixed up, but I still need to add in my onions. Now I'm just gonna fold the onions in. All right, we have gently folded in the onions. So now it's time to, well, make it a loaf. We're gonna put it into our loaf tin. And to do this, I am just going to use a big old spoon. I also have a spatula too. The spatula is really going to come into play later though, because we will be putting a like glazed topping on top of the meatloaf. And essentially now what I'm going to just try to do is make it even in thickness throughout the loaf tin. All right, we have a meatloaf tin. First, I'm gonna bake this in the oven for 40 minutes. In the meantime, I'm gonna put together the glaze mixture that we're gonna put on top. So we'll do 40 minutes and then we'll take it out, put our glaze on, and then probably cook it for 20 more minutes after that. So here we go, 40 minutes. Now we have the meatloaf going in the oven. We're gonna let her just bake away. We're gonna make a really, really simple glaze or topping that we're gonna add to the top of the meatloaf after it's baked the 40 minutes. And then we'll put it back in the oven and bake it for another 20 minutes or so. And it's really simple. We today are just gonna mix together about 3/4 cup of ketchup. That's right, ketchup. Honestly, I think that's why people don't take meatloaf seriously, maybe as like, I don't know, a yummy food, because it doesn't seem like baking something with so much ketchup is like good or I don't know, normal. Like it seems a little strange, but ketchup has natural sugar in it. And so what this glaze does is it's actually going to kind of get a little like, almost a little like crispy edges on the top. It's going to really seal in the flavor of the meat. And then because we're doing a mixture of barbecue sauce, it's going to add even a little extra sweetness and a little extra tang. It's really yummy. So here we go. Let's just mix together some ketchup and barbecue sauce. I will probably also add a little bit of garlic powder in. If you have onion powder, that's also a suggestion that you can add in, as well as a little bit of vinegar. I don't have any vinegar. Well, I have lots of vinegar, but apparently only like rice vinegar and not white vinegar. Anywho, we're going to make it without the vinegar today, but that's something that you can use to help cut the sweetness a little bit too. Well, y'all heard me correctly. We are just going to be mixing together some tomato ketchup and some Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. Yum. And then I'm going to be adding in like a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. I think we're going to call that 3/4 cup. I'm not too worried about it because the Sweet Baby Ray's is going to be delicious. Gonna add it to a little bowl. And then we'll add a ½ teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm gonna taste it a little bit. I wanna know. Oh yeah, that's gonna be good. All right, divas. It's time to put on our topping. And you'll wanna be really careful. Okay, this is gonna go back in the oven for about another 20 minutes. We want the internal temperature to be around 160, 165. All right, divas, it has been about 20 minutes, so let's take our meatloaf out of the oven and see how she looks. Y'all, this meatloaf looks so yummy and beautiful. You can see I just took it out and it's got like kind of this crispiness around the edges. It's going to be so, so good. Obviously, we can't cut into it right now. I do need to wait at least 10 to 15 minutes because it's, you know, like a bajillion degrees. I am going to make sure that it's cooked all the way through. If you have a meat thermometer, that is really the best way. I am going to do the tried and true stick a knife in it method, and hopefully it comes back clean. I'm going to stick a knife through it, like the thickest part. Nice. I could tell just by the density that we have a cooked through meatloaf, and you can see there's only sauce left on the knife. So I think we have a fully cooked meatloaf. I'm going to let it rest now for, like I said, 10 to 15 minutes, but we are definitely going to slice into it. Getting the first piece out is always the hardest part. Never pay attention to how the first piece comes out. Oh my God, this looks so good. Yes, that's how you know it's good. It can stand up. All right, y'all, and there it is. We had a little bit of breakage. This is the first piece to come out. This one held together a little bit more, but regardless, it's gonna taste amazing. As you can see, I have a ton of leftovers that are gonna heat up amazing. I really hope y'all enjoyed this meatloaf edition of Scarlett Syanide's School for Sexy People. I hope you enjoyed this trip on the way back machine, you know, to the world of meatloaf, but it's delicious, it's filling, and don't forget to come back for another Scarlett Syanide's School for Sexy People. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time, divas. Bye.